On the Paper Talk today, we'll be talking about the morning after the night before, a little bit of reaction from United's loss at the London Stadium to West Ham, our second 1-0 loss in a week. Not great, obviously. Bit of fallout from that. Also some transfer rumours, some incomings and potential outgoings. What's happening with David De Gea? Is the manager going to back him? Let's find out. Jay here for Stretford, Paddock. This is the Paper Talk. As you can see, I'm outside Old Trafford and it's raining, obviously, innit? So if you've got a parker and you're going out on this bank holiday, get it on. We'll get into it. Lots of stories to get through. Some of them focusing on yesterday's deflating loss at West Ham United. We've got a few quotes to go through on the back of that. We'll also get into some transfer stories and the update on the takeover. In fact, there isn't much of an update, to be honest with you, but we'll get into that anyway. We'll start with yesterday then. Obviously, very frustrating result. 1-0 loss. Again, the second 1-0 loss in a week. Manchester United in a little bit of a pickle. We're still on course for top four, but these losses aren't helping, and you start to worry now, don't you, with Liverpool breathing down our neck. And also, the lack of goals. I think we've got 3 goals in our last 6 games in all competitions, which tells its own story. Coupled with the fact you've got a goalkeeper who's making howlers. I mean, that goal yesterday that David De Gea conceded, whatever your opinion on David De Gea, that wasn't good enough. Just on that front, there's a few quotes regarding the goalkeeper and what happened yesterday. Ten Hag spoke about De Gea and he said, "We want him to stay, we want him to extend his contract." Now, I get it. He's sticking up for his player. He's talking in a positive light. He doesn't want to sort of stick the knife in with him. And this is, you know, it was obvious that David De Gea made a mistake. And he did speak about Eric Ten Hag. He said, "I think we all know, David knows also, it's a mistake, but he's a brilliant goalkeeper. We may not be in this position when he didn't show this shape over the course of the season. Mistakes are part of football, and we have to live with it, and we have to bounce back as a team." Sort of a growing theme in it over the last 7 days of a player making a blunder and the manager sticking up for him. I get it, and I don't expect him to come out and say De Gea's a shambles and he needs to go, but you have to ask yourself, is he going to stay? Is he going to get another contract? Well, according to some reports, he is. Sam Pilger, who's been on the channel before, he's been on the channel a few times actually, he's friend of the channel, he's wrote a lot of United books, he writes for Forbes amongst other publications. He says Eric Ten Hag determined to keep De Gea at Manchester United. Also some other Eric Ten Hag quotes saying, "He fully has my belief, no concerns with him. It happens, but as a team you have to deal with it, show character, be resilient and bounce back. We want him to stay," this is the quote I said earlier, "and extend his contract. He has the most clean sheets in the league, so we would not be in this position without him." I mean, he does have the most clean sheets in the league, and you know, that is an admirable trait and one that's praiseworthy. But we also concede a lot of goals as well. Let's not forget we conceded 4 at Brentford, 7 at Liverpool, 6 at City. We have had our pants pulled down a few times this season, so whilst clean sheet record's great, it also doesn't tell you the full story about United, not just De Gea, but about United defensively this season, when we have conceded quite a few goals and we haven't been scoring enough. I think our goal difference now, is it +8? I think I want to say, or plus either 9 or 8, well, one or the other. So that is a concern. Get involved in the comments and let us know what you think about David De Gea. Do you agree with that sort of promise that Eric Ten Hag is making, or pledge, or whatever you want to call it, that he wants to sort of stick with David De Gea, and we want him to sign a new deal? From what we gather, a new deal has been on the table, but it means a pay cut. Now, you might think a pay cut, oh crikey, that's not very good, but he's on about 375k a week, I think. So even if he takes a pay cut, he's still going to be one of the top earning goalkeepers in the world, presumably. So is it worth him just signing in anyway, even if there is a pay cut, because he'll still be well paid? For me, the issue isn't about pay with David De Gea, it's whether he's good enough or whether he fits into Eric Ten Hag's system. I'm not so sure he does, and I think there's 2 options. You either change your system and forget about playing out for the back, or you change your goalkeeper. But if the goalkeeper's conceding goals, I know it was a bit of a one-off for David De Gea, then he might answer that question for you. In terms of some transfer news, Mason Greenwood has been linked with a move to Juve. I saw this in the Daily Mail, and I think it's also been reported in the Sun, #Don'tBuyTheSun. It says Juventus wants to sign Mason Greenwood on a long-term loan deal and hope he can be tempted by former teammate Paul Pogba. I mean, there's a lot going on there, isn't there? Goes on to say, with the United outcast future uncertain, yeah, there's still this internal investigation going on by the club over Mason Greenwood. Obviously the police charges were dropped, but the club are doing their own investigation, and we'll have to wait and see what happens. it does seem to be pointing towards him not playing for Manchester United again, but you never know. Anything can happen in football. But yeah, Juve apparently are in for him. Just on the incomings front, Frenkie de Jong, of course, there's a report in Mundo Deportivo that United could have another chance to sign Frenkie de Jong. Now, it says here that Mundo Deportivo, this is in the evening news, but it's come from Mundo Deportivo, comments on Barcelona's continued financial issues and says the Spanish club will look to make savings by offering de Jong a new deal on a lower salary. Now they're saying because he's going to get offered a new deal on a lower salary, well, does that mean that Manchester United could offer him a better deal and get him? There's lots of ifs and buts and maybes with that, and I don't think it sort of paves the way for Frenkie de Jong to come to Manchester United just because he could be offered a new deal on a lower salary. We tried to get him in the summer, we couldn't. We don't know what we're going to have in terms of a transfer budget and ownership and all that malarkey. We do know, though, that the priority has to be a striker and potentially a goalkeeper. I don't know. So are we going to go all in on Frenkie de Jong for about 80 million quid, 70 million quid, whatever it'll be? I'm not so sure. Also on the incomings front, there's a report here that United are ready to pay 53 million for Kim Min-jae. United are reportedly ready to splash the cash out on 53 million. United are reportedly ready to splash out 53 million on Napoli defender Kim Min-jae. This has come from Corriere dello Sport, and this is being reported in the evening news. He's obviously had a great season at Napoli. They've just lifted the Scudetto, or won the Scudetto. And he's got a release clause of around 42 million, plus he expects it to cost £11 million more for potential suitors such as United to win the race for his signature. Been a lot of speculation about the future of this lad, the South Korean, where he's going to go. United could be looking at him, I'm not so sure. There has been a couple of rumours, but nothing concrete, nothing that active where you think, yeah, it's likely to happen, but we'll wait and see. Who knows? Just what I mentioned as well, Gary Neville tweeting yesterday. He went into one of was it yesterday actually? Was it? It was, it was yesterday, sorry. He says, United's so poor in this game. Erik ten Hag seeing more of the players in these situations is a positive, allows him to sort out who he wants on the bus. The real disgrace are the Glazers. Are they waiting for the last game at OT to pass? It would be typical of them. Weak and shirking accountability and responsibility to the end. Members of staff on and off the pitch are in an uncertain position, waiting for new owners, let alone recruitment and what their budget is going to be. This should have been done classless to the end. Gary Neville unhappy with the Glazers, dragging their heels when it comes to the sale. Now, there was reports over the weekend that one of Sir Jim Ratcliffe's clauses would mean that the Glazers eventually go, I think, in 2026. That seems to upset a lot of people when the Glazers gone now. We don't know what's happening in terms of whether it's going to be Sir Jim Ratcliffe or whether it's going to be Sheikh Jassim. Those seem to be the two main suitors for Manchester United, the two main bids. There's also the possibility through the Elliott Management Group or whoever that the Glazers could sell a minority share and try and stay on. One thing's for certain, if new owners do come in, then they're going to want Champions League football. I just want to talk about Erik ten Hag for a minute, because I saw a lot of people in the comments on the chat yesterday when we were doing the live video and when we were doing the post-match review and the watch-along, sort of questioning the manager, criticising the manager. I get it. I've seen some people on social media saying, is this manager the right man for the job? Some even saying Erik ten Hag out. Now, I don't know whether that's kidology, I don't know if it's rival fans having a bit of a mess around, or whether there is genuinely a feeling among some Manchester United fans that Erik ten Hag might not be the right man for the job. Now, I believe he is. I firmly believe that. I wanted him when we were linked with him. I wanted him over Maurizio Pochettino. I think his record at Ajax spoke for itself, and I like the way, his style of football and the fact that he's obviously was so successful in the Dutch league and had some success in the Champions League in terms of getting to a semi-final with Ajax, which is, quite a rarity for them to get that far in the competition. Also was impressed with the way he handled himself at Manchester United when he came in, the signings he made, the way he's got to tune out some of the players as well, just his handling of the media, and the fact he takes responsibility. Remember, after the Brentford loss, he got everyone in for extra training and took part himself. We saw a reaction here at Old Trafford against Liverpool. Yes, we've had some bad results. The results away from home in particular have been woeful, but we've had some big results at Old Trafford as well. We've beaten pretty much almost everyone. We've beaten City, beaten Arsenal, beaten Liverpool, we've beaten Barcelona. So he has turned Old Trafford into a fortress. It's just that away record that's undermining him. Now, the issue, or the worry I have, is that with new owners on the horizon, they might look at Erik ten Hag if it's a big if we don't get Champions League football, and go, is this guy the right man for us? If you're going to spend over £5 billion on an asset, and that asset doesn't have access to the biggest market out there, I'm not talking about the EU, I'm talking about Champions League football, which could be worth up to £100 million for the club, you might question the manager. You might look at it and go, why are we not in the Champions League when we were nailed on for it? What is going on? Now, the fans are, I think, by and large, very much behind Erik ten Hag, but new owners could have their own ideas. We've seen it at Chelsea, what happened with Todd Boehly. He came in. Thomas Tuchel had won a Champions League a year ago. Didn't matter. He was gone. It wasn't his guy. Waited for him to have a little bit of a fumble and then got rid of him. And it could happen with Erik ten Hag. A new owner could come in and go, not in the Champions League. We've disappointed in the league. Yes, we've won the Carabao Cup, but that's not enough. And obviously we don't know what's going to happen with the FA Cup. I'm going to bring in someone else. And I think that is a concern for me. That really is, because I believe we should stick with Erik ten Hag, give him the long-term chance to set his stall out at Manchester United. He's brought in some signings. I still think there's an overhaul needed. We can see what he's trying to do, and now some of the players perhaps aren't up to that job. So I feel like getting rid of the manager, I'm not saying that's going to happen, but you have to be realistic about what could happen if we don't get Champions League football, and that is still a possibility. I believe we'll get it. I said before the West Ham game, I thought we'd lose at West Ham and win the last 4 games of the season, but I'm not always right. And if I'm wrong and we don't get Champions League football, if Liverpool overtake us, then the new owners might come in and go, this guy's not our guy. So there is pressure on Erik ten Hag. There's always pressure on a Manchester United manager. I remember I spoke to Jamie Jackson a few years ago. I think I interviewed him when Ollie was having a bit of a wobbly spell as caretaker. We'd just been appointed permanent manager, and he said to me, I remember he said, if you lose 3 games on the spin as Manchester United manager, you're under pressure. And that can happen to Erik ten Hag, it can happen to anyone. So listen, get involved in the chat and the comments. Before anyone says anything, I'm not saying I think the managers go. I'm saying the opposite of that. Let's just get that clear before I get clipped up. Right. Make sure you're getting involved in the chat and the comments. Make sure you are hitting the like, share and subscribe button. We're going to be back later on with the Paddock podcast. Poor producer Ethan, he's absolutely drenched here. He's not got a big coat on. He's got it looks like a waterproof one, but he still looks absolutely soaking, bless him. Like us, he's seen his team lose at the weekend. So we're 2 depressed, drowned rats here today. Rats is a bit of an hard one, but we're 2 depressed, drowning people here today. But hopefully Manchester United can turn it around with a win against Wolves next weekend. I'm going to leave it there. Make sure you are checking out all of the videos. I've been Jay Motty. This has been a Paper Talk. Thanks for watching.